So we're doing a live stream, Chris, is that correct?
Yes, we're streaming live now.
Absolutely fantastic. This is, you are with TAP. We are at our first campfire. This is our place for we the people to meet and talk together. And tonight we are doing a debrief on our July 6th TAP forum that we did with Dr. Meryl Nass and James Roguski. Jim is our special guest tonight. He's on the call and in the chat, if you can get to the Zoom chat, and so this is a limitation if you're live streaming, we do have the links to see and the July 6th TAP forum. So so I just wanted to give you some housekeeping details there. Also in the chat are the three key websites from James: Exit the Who, StopTheWho.com, ScrewTheWho.com. And these are, you can get a lot of information on the kind of what's emerging as the kind of the boogeyman in the emerging techno-totalitarianism, and that is the World Health Organization through the pandemic treaty, through the international health regulations, changes that are, James can give us an update on the status of those. And these are all kind of impending, kind of power grabs, if we can characterize it that way, from the World Health Organization. These are things that we discussed at July 6th. We also, just to make a quick orientation here about TAP, TAP started out as 9/11 TAP. We have now dropped the 9/11 and we are just TAP, Truth Action Project. And there's a wide spectrum of truth issues we explore. When we all met together on July 6th, I had Meryl and Jim both kind of open up with their early initial experience around the events of 9/11, and then we built from there and came forward into the work that Meryl and Jim are doing together, and we can talk about that. So there's a long kind of winded introduction. I am Chuck Fall. My co-host is Trina. So what we're going to do right now, we're just going to do a quick go around, just kind of say, introduce yourself, say who you are, kind of, and kind of if you're an organization you represent, quickly introduce that. And then we're going to come back around and just kind of open up. And I think I'll go to we'll just kind of give Jim the kind of the opening word on that. Really, we're exploring the problem of the emerging techno-totalitarianism. Is it real? How does it show up? What are you thinking about it? And this kind of thing. So Trina, let's just say hi to everyone, introduce, and then we'll just pass the baton and we'll do a quick share out and introductions.
All right, thank you everybody. Thank you, Chuck, and hello everyone. Welcome to our first campfire, and it's great to have you here. And I'm Trina, one of the board members, and happy to be your host tonight. So pass, next, say hello. Whoever would like to.
I'll be next. Chris Steiner here. Thanks for joining us, folks, and thanks for being concerned and taking action. I'm the host of a radio show, Liberation Station. It's on Republic Broadcasting Network every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and been on terrestrial radio as a host here and there sometimes. I've been an activist since about 1991, when I was trying to decide who to vote for my first election. So if you want to check me out, my bio is over at my site, theliberationstation.com.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to push people down. I'm going to follow the list here. Tom Rodman, quick intro.
Yeah, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a Green Party member, and I support the technology and work on social media activism in my own way, a lot on Telegram. Pass.
Dave Nelson, where are you from? And give us a quick intro.
Hey, you guys. I'm 84, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Yeah, I can't figure out how to put a picture of myself on there. I'm pretty good at Zoom. I found out about the meeting from our local 9/11 group, and it made a lot of sense. So I clicked on your link, and here I am.
Dave, welcome. And perhaps if you can figure out the chat, we can help you with. Tom is very adept, but there is a button, there's a control panel down below, and you would want to on the far left side, you have a stop video and a start video and a mute. So you might navigate that area. Let's keep moving through this. JB, you're here. Give us a quick intro.
Hey, JB Hawker Smith. I'm a filmmaker slash production consultant, and I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Over.
Thank you, JB. Jim, you're on the list. I see you there. Please share out. Give us a brief intro, and then we'll keep going through, and then we'll loop back around.
James or Jim?
Yeah, I'm being informal. James.
Oh, sure. I'm in California. I have been reporting on the WHO goings on for the last year or so. And if I may, I'll share this. Apparently, according to George Orwell, you folks are all revolutionaries.
I love it.
We are.
Jim, you're so skilled. Look at the way he just kind of shared his screen, and a picture is worth thousands of words. Thank you, Jim. Barbara, please introduce yourself. Say hi. And you would have to unmute, Barbara. I see there's a mute button that has been released.
Hi, I'm in Clearwater, Florida. Originally from New York, been down here 40 years. And anyway, I got invited by Deb, so you're all new to me. But I'm going to say an activist. I'm on your side. I don't know how to do it. Afraid sometimes to open my mouth. I might,
Welcome.
it's professing the truth.
Well,
It's so great. But Orwell, it's like, where's the truth today?
You're in community here. This is what we are. We are brothers and sisters in pursuit of a political truth, and that's one way I frame it. Bill Jacoby, Bill, please say hi. Bill, are you there?
Yep, hi, I'm Bill Jacoby. I'm on the Truth Action Project board, and it's good to see you all. Looking forward to the discussion. Since it's our first one, it's worth pointing out that our fondest hope for these campfires is that they will take from the preceding forum that Jim and Meryl were on, and kind of distill our thoughts as an audience in the direction of action and the things we can do to support action, either supporting the actions of others or initiating some new campaign of our own. So that's sort of how we'll, in general, measure the long-range success of these forums. And as projects take shape in these things, we hope that the projects will both spin off and stay in touch with us so we can publicize them as we're going to publicize the work of Jim and Meryl on our website and in our newsletter going forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Deb Casso, you're muted and your video is blocked. If you release your videos, you can see your mug. If this is not convenient, we can move. I'll come back. So Deb.
Or if she just wants to say hello.
Yeah, we're asking her intro, but I think someone called in, they're driving. So how about Karen Bracken? Are you easy? Can you introduce yourself, Karen?
That was me that was driving. I'm in on now.
Okay. So Karen, good luck getting home and opening up. So if Deb is available, she can unmute and give us a brief intro. I'm going to go on. Philip, are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we hear you.
I hit the wrong button, I think. I hit a button here that
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Phil Restino over in Daytona Beach, Florida, founding member in 2005 of the Central Florida chapter of Veterans for Peace. The late Dr. Bob Bowman's home chapter, and we folded in 2016 and formed the Bob Bowman Memorial chapter of We Are Change, and have since had our Facebook page disappeared and would love to hear about any ideas how to get it back. And just glad to be here and see some old friends, a lot of old friends. And
Nice.
looking forward to meeting new friends here. Thanks.
Thank
Great.
you. Great to have you, Philip. And Tori, are you available? Can you unmute? I think your picture is showing.
Hi.
Welcome, Tori.
Hi.
Hi.
You want to just briefly introduce, say hi, where you're from, kind of what you think?
I'm in New York. I'm a longtime 9/11 Truth activist, and I've been in discussion with Bill Jacoby for many, many years, and I was involved in some of the early planning for this project, and then I disappeared for a while to get some work done, and I'm glad to see that everything is launched. So
Yes.
Thank
Thank you for your support.
good job. Yeah, congratulations.
All right, bravo. Deb, did we hear from Deb? Does she want to say hi?
Good to see you,
Deb
Tori. Just wanted
has
to shout
no
out.
mic or telephone.
Talk later.
She has no mic or video, she said.
Oh, bad luck. Okay, so Deb's going to listen.
Yeah, welcome anyway, Deb.
Yeah,
Nice to
welcome,
have you.
Deb. I know Deb, so I know she would talk if she could, and she is such a great activist in this area. I didn't want to speak up for her until now, but I've known her for many, many years, and she's just been so amazing, especially trying to, succeeding in 2011 and getting water fluoridation ended here in Pinellas County, the largest municipality in the Southeast United States. And we now have to try again because in 2013, the county commission had the votes they needed with the new election the year before in order to vote it back in. So we can work on that some more here and claim victory, I think, again, because it was just amazing the amount of people that she and her late husband, Tony, had really gotten out there, motivated, gotten the county commission to have the workshop on water fluoridation, and the overwhelming supermajority that showed up there was just roomfuls. They were coming in by the elevator and had us wait out in the lobby. So it was just a great day when they voted it back in. It was so much outrage that we have hope for the first time having a supermajority at the county commission. And I want to thank Deb for her ongoing work on that and so many other things, and her great emails she keeps sending out to inform us. So thanks, Deb.
Chris, thanks for that nice introduction of Deb and the work she's done and is doing. So basically, here we all are. And I got involved with TAP because I basically agreed with the mission of speaking truth to power and not letting the big lies go unaddressed. And I have a remark that there's the iconic warning from Eisenhower with the iconic assassinations of the 60s and the iconic attack on 9/11. And now we're kind of coming through the COVID, which hasn't become iconic yet because we're still grappling with it. Is it over or is it still ongoing? And so what we talked about on July 6th is that there is an emerging techno-totalitarianism, and that the COVID was a perhaps practice run, a test of the populace, and the capacity to conduct the COVID event grows out of, and this is work that Bailiwick News, Catherine Watt and Sasha Ladipova explore, is the law from the 60s and the events of the 60s, the lack of that accountability create this condition that here we are today, struggling and doing the work we're doing. So let's just shift to Jim, because at our July 6th, you had some very wise counsel for the kind of the what do you do with this? I mean, you're working on a high level to take on the World Health Organization, but then you also spoke to us individually in our capacities as individuals, and so we are individuals here. We are all grappling. We are all facing, and we all want to find a meaningful approach to dealing with what we are perceiving. Where do we go with what we know, and how do we respond?
Well, I'm not going to profess to say that I know the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm willing to listen to each individual person and work with them where they are and with what they feel is important. Because, if there's 7 or 8 billion people on the planet, there's 7 or 8 billion different viewpoints. We give a shout out to Karen Bracken. I don't know that she actually really got a chance to formally, really, truly introduce herself, and bring her in on this conversation, because I am of the mind that it starts with individual people. The reason why our neighborhood, our city, our town, our county, our district, our state, our province, our federal government, and international organizations like the WHO and the UN, and whatever the hell kind of intergalactic organization is really in control. It starts with each individual person. And so if everybody's confused, if everybody has a belief structure that is not necessarily in alignment with reality, or at least the reality that is controlling us, that's where it all has to start. And so if individual people are unsure, my experience has been, if somebody isn't clear, if they don't know what they want, they're not going to do anything. If they know what they want, they'll go and they'll try to get it. They may succeed or fail, but you got to know what you want. And that doesn't mean just for yourself. It means for you and every, extrapolation of organization, that's bigger than you. Rights and freedoms start with the individual, not with, the WHO. All right. And so what I try to do is ask people, what do you want? And oftentimes you get, I don't know.
Right.
And the WHO, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, they put it down on paper. They tell you over and over and over again what they want. They want you to be happy because you own nothing and you're eating bugs in your 15-minute city. Well, I don't want that. Okay. So, I just encourage everybody to say what it is that now, I want the WHO to stop what they're doing, but that's not enough. You can stop government from, or you can stop people to be pretending to have authority as a government official and stomping on your rights. But you got to say what it is that you want, right? I want to live in a world where I'm free to travel, and nobody's going to tell me that I got to do something to my body in order to be able to move around the planet, right? If I want to go shopping, if I want to buy some groceries, if I want to get on a transportation, if I want to travel, get on an airplane, go to another country, you don't get to tell me to do something to my body. That's not acceptable. Okay. Children, want to go to school and learn. How does anybody even conceive of the concept of you've got to wear a mask and you've got to jab yourself and you've got to be afraid and stay 6 feet away from other people? And no, I want my freedom to move about freely. Okay. I want to have available to me whatever it is makes sense to me to eat and use as herbs or nutrition or therapies or whatever it might be. I don't want to be told that the only protocol I can follow is what somebody in Geneva or DC or Sacramento or whatever other government agency. No, that's not what I want. I want my freedom to live the most expansive life I could imagine, and I want that freedom for everybody else. So when you bump into somebody who says, no, I get to tell you what to do because I said so, that chafes. That's just not acceptable. And so I don't really want to say too much more. I would rather spend more time and invite Karen to chime in. She's got a great project going that's low at a more local level than the WHO. We obviously have to push back on these crazy ideas from an international level, but they're going to get implemented locally. We're going to have to deal
So
with
Jim,
crazy
let's
people on
shift.
a local basis.
Let's pick up. So let's go to Karen, and just because, I mean, we all agree that as a truth movement is also a freedom movement, and you're describing some of the obvious problems with an emerging techno-totalitarianism that says you can't travel unless you have a vaccine passport. And one of the things that I learned from you, Jim, and from one of your reports, is that the WHO has adopted the European Commission, European Union program, their prototype that was deployed under the COVID. So there really is these institutional structures. So Karen, if you would unmute, you could even show your video, and we would love to hear from you about what your take and what your reflection is on what we're grappling with, and what you're in the work you're doing, and how you're responding to this emerging techno-totalitarianism. Karen, would you share, please?
Sure. Well, one of my many projects over the past 20 years currently is Tennessee Citizens for State Sovereignty. And we have legislation all written and ready to go to create a process to invoke nullification. And this is not a bill to make nullification legal, because it's already legal. This is a bill that will actually set up a process for invoking nullification, because a lot of people go, well, okay, nullification is a great thing, but how do you make it happen? So this legislation is going to set a legal process in motion to make it happen. We're also looking at states' rights. We haven't really named it yet, caucus amongst our legislatures in the Tennessee Assembly. We're also looking to, the Representative Halsey is looking to create compacts between states to do what we're doing here in Tennessee. Also, we have legislation against ESG, CBDC, to make silver and gold legal tender, to set up a gold depository. And we've already passed legislation to allow our treasurer, our state treasurer, to purchase gold. So all of these things, is our goal to get them passed next year. Every 4 years when we have a federal election, it's always the most important election of the history of the country. Every 4 years we hear, oh, this is the most important election. But you never hear this at a state level. You never hear, oh, our next state assembly is going to be the most important, ever. 2024 is the most important year for every state's legislature to start passing legislation to protect the rights and liberties of their citizens. It's not going to come from the federal government. We don't have time to go down to the lower. Part of my organization is we're getting county team leaders to work their county, because I can't. We have 95 counties in Tennessee. I can't be in 95 counties. So we're looking to get county leaders in all 95 counties. We have 3 so far.
Now, Karen, can I just interrupt very? So when you say you're advancing the nullification, is that for the state of Tennessee to nullify any incursion from the WHO, or is it from unconstitutional things in general?
Well, anything that comes down from the WHO, in my opinion, is unconstitutional. It violates our Constitution. They have no jurisdiction over our country, our state, our county. So yes, it is anything that the federal government mandates that the state of Tennessee must do. If it's outside of their 18 enumerated powers, we have the right to nullify. We have the right to say, no, sorry, we're not going to comply.
Okay. No,
But what we're
okay.
doing here is
Okay.
setting up a process.
Right. Okay, so we just let Matt in. Okay, well, that's interesting. And so, okay, thank you, Karen. Let's, unless, is there something else you would share with us and just add out? And because I mean, one thing that's coming up for me about what you just reported on the principle of nullification, I have two things to say. First, that one area that we are interested in is the work of the grand jury investigation and the citizen right to petitions of grievance and make these kinds of filings. This is, I know Catherine Watt at Bailiwick News is, she's quite strong on that. And I just want to say one other thing, that TAP does have a, we have an interview we did with banking and monetary reform people who are, and we had a topic on monetary reform, and this will be live streamed coming up, and that'll be on our calendar. And the next forum we have will be an opportunity to talk about banking, the banking system, the monetary system, and liberating from banking cartels. So that's down the pike, and I'm just picking up on some of the work you just mentioned that you're doing, Karen.
Yeah, well, we can't set up a state bank in Tennessee, which is what we'd like to do, but there are already statutes in place that prevent the state of Tennessee from having a state bank. But we can set up a gold depository. Just some of the things. Last year, Representative Halsey actually got a piece of legislation passed that allows property owners to pay their property taxes. You basically set up an account, and let's just say you want to put $20,000 in that account towards your property taxes. And that was just one little way of him protecting us should the economy crash. What happens? You can't pay your taxes. They repossess your house, and they're very, very happy to do that with a lot of the things that are coming down right now. So he got legislation passed that allows you to set up an account with your state, your county treasurer, and they just kind of draw from that account every year. So let's just say the economy crashes and you've got $20,000 sitting in that account, then you're going to have your property taxes paid, especially in Tennessee, because our property taxes are extremely low. I think if most people knew what our property taxes were here, they'd move to Tennessee tomorrow. But we're just trying to come up with ways to protect people, because we know what's coming, and it's coming quickly. So we have to do things, I believe, right now at the state level. Instead of working up from the county level up, we need to work from the state level down at this point, because we really don't have time to mess around.
Okay, wow. I was going to jump over to Victoria Alexander, but so Tom has this list. Perfect.
Question.
So raise your hand. There is the reaction bar at the bottom. If you have access to your Zoom, you could do the click raise the hand button. You lower your hand when you're done. Tom is using it. You can also just say stack. But let's go straight to Tom for the question.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be in a meeting where Catherine Austin Fitz, she's there at about every other or every third meeting. And I'm just wondering if you're coordinating or in contact with her.
We have a meeting. We're set up to speak with her. I've already talked with her people. We're set to meet with her on July 22nd. She's back in the Netherlands right now, but she'll be back in Tennessee.
Yeah, she might join us in one of these meetings sometime. All right, thanks. That's it.
Catherine Austin Fitz would be very interesting to have on, because we are, I here at Truth Action Project, we are not, we're a 501c3, so we're functionally educational, and we are talking about I call it political truth, and we cover a wide range of issues. And as I said, we do have a upcoming live stream. Well, it'll be live streamed, but it's been recorded, and it is on monetary reform. And I think this is an issue that could build unity. Money is a very abstract thing that's hard for people to get kind of galvanized by. And I guess that is a question that we could ask ourselves this evening, is what does galvanize, what might galvanize, what could galvanize, and where are points where people are galvanizing to kind of call out. And I guess I'll say this, on the COVID vaccines, apparently not many Americans are taking the latest round. And so there's a kind of a call it a boycott in the classic sense. They're just not using it, they're not taking it. One thing that gets my bile boiling is that here in Oregon, children are given the COVID vax, and which is a scandal on its face. People who say that COVID is over, well, it's not over, because it's still with us present, and children are being administered something that's not proven safe and effective, and is a complete, consumer safety nightmare. So that's my little pet peeve on that point. I welcome anybody to raise their hand, to chime in. Do people have thoughts? Dave Nelson, you're a very intelligent looking man. Do you have a reflection from anything you've heard?
Well, I've been around the block a lot.
Yeah, but what's your take on what's going on? I mean, do you perceive a growing power of state, if you will, of loss of civil liberty, of encroachment of a globalist program?
I think it takes a crisis for people
Where do you come down on the spectrum?
I think it takes a crisis for people to change.
Okay.
And change comes from the inside out. Well, I'm 84, I'll be 85. I just got pancreatic cancer in March, but I'm in the medical system and just things are okay.
Well, congratulations for being here now.
Yeah, I've been a radical a long time. Now, there's a saying, the way to be is to do. Well, when you're older, I've kind of turned it around. The way to do is to be. And I just try to be present to people and help them grow. When you're old, when you're young, you think in terms of birthdays, a year at a time, and then you think 10 years at a time. And then when you're old, now I can think about 100 years at a time. So I can see where I've been, and it also helps me identify where people are. So I just, I'm more of a spiritual person now. I've learned the difference between being in something and being able to back away and look at it and coordinate things from this observer point of view. And to me, this observer, I'm not worried about dying or anything like that. That's just changing radio stations. It's how do I get from here to that point? And how can I be of service in this process? And now it's pretty individualistic thing. I just go to, my awakening with 9/11 was March of 2006, Loose Change and David Ray Griffin. And so I've been connected to 9/11 since that time. So how to integrate what you guys are doing with my beingness, and we're working towards the same thing.
Yep.
Now it's more of a spiritual thing for me. but I'm all ears for what you guys are doing.
You know, yeah,
Hugs and pats on the back.
so Dave, thanks for sharing. I noticed Catherine Watt has become, she explains that she was, raised Catholic. I mean, I'm a secular person, and I'm not a person of faith necessarily. What I feel is a deep reverence for life, and it's when I'm in when I'm in life and live. I feel strongly about that, and that's where I think that even an atheist can be spiritual when we accept the reverence of life and be with that. And here we are together. I think people in the truth movement, I mean, on one level, we're fundamentally skeptical people, and we're, as you say, you've been a radical all your life. And I think I feel the same all my life. I've always been look askance at, systems of, claims of power and authority and, and so on. But I think what I think is fundamental to our work is that there is a reverence for life, that there is a sense, and I think it's natural to tend into a spirituality living in this world that is kind of crazy. And we do need to ground ourselves. And I know my remark about Catherine Watt is that she is part of, in her Substack, explains her own almost a personal journey back into her Catholicism. And it's almost like she's almost a Dorothy Day type of Catholicism, which is a pretty radical condemnation of almost an evil present from power of corrupted, covert, deep state, and so on and so forth. So there's my little rant. I ranted almost. Anybody else? I mean, I think this is why we're doing this work, is to normalize talking about living in a world that is going sideways, and because we do live in a 1984 world where lies are presented as truths, and navigating that is hard. And I think I've even heard one of the other people in this movement talk about the necessity to have a spiritual life, because you can't face this, you can't face the unspeakable and just stay there and be with it. You can't be with that. You have to find a place to take care of your own soul. So that's I hear you. Other thoughts? Any hands? Anybody want to reflect on what and you can also reflect on something Meryl might have said from the July 6th forum. I see maybe Bill has a hand up. I'm not sure if there's a hand up or a hand clap. Bill, would you like to be recognized and share a thought?
Hand up.
Okay.
Sure, just a comment on okay, just a quick comment on what I'm hearing.
Yes.
It's to me, it's a fascinating paradox. In a way, everyone has spoken to a different issue, or almost everyone has spoken to a multiplicity of issues. I won't even try to renumber them. The money, WHO, sovereignty, nullification. Nullification is a word I have not heard much in the activist rounds I've been in, but I understand obviously what's behind it. And I wouldn't, you've just raised that issue in that term and on my radar, Karen. But I just wanted to say as a board member how it's a paradox that we've talked about different issues, but really are talking about one issue and one strategy. We are all individuals, like Jim was saying. We are all becoming more and more conscious of our desire to remain individuals and not to get homogenized into one group product, allegedly for the benefit of everyone. And most of us we're all trying to make sense of reality, as Chuck was just saying, and we're finding all of these rocks that we turn over, and there's another rabbit hole under each one, and it gets confusing to know which ones to go down and whether they connect. They do connect, and what we're hoping through the things we offer here, the discussions like this where you get to meet people. I've just met some people I want to talk with again later. And if we can integrate that with this combination of forums where we get into issues in depth and getting to know you, things like this, this is an opportunity for people who want to know exactly what they can do on health to look at those resources which Chuck posted that were developed by Jim. But we offer something called partnership, which means that TAP partners will get a website page. It'll become clearer to viewers of our website, which is pretty big already, how big our tent is and who are some of the groups which we've partnered with. Partnering means a kind of a reciprocal effort by the partner and by us to build our audience, because it's these local groups like Deb has in Florida and Karen has in Tennessee, and it's the building of those local groups which allows us to fight at local levels. And these local armies, through networks like ours and others, become more informed more easily about similar parallels, and we can lend our strength, in each location to the battlers on different issues as they come in. So I'm just pointing to how to best use our TAP service here, since a lot of you are on the call are new. If you have an organization, consider becoming a partner. You get some visibility on our website, and you get a chance to help us participate in developing more content for webinars. You can either be a speaker or you can become potentially a speaker or a participant in various ways. And the forums become a way to look for people who can help you in your work, whether locally or nationally. And if they do help you, you can become a project which can also be reported on progressively in our newsletter, which will be coming out monthly. So this doesn't take the place of any organization. It doesn't supplant, it doesn't really lead. I don't think we really expect to be leader groups, but we do hope that we can connect networks and connect leaders and connect those who are looking for leaders to follow on particular projects, and in general improve the lubrication of this new society that's coming into being to contest the dying old one. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And I see Jim has posted on the 10th Amendment, and he has his hand up. So, Jim, what are you thinking?
Well, I actually got two thoughts I want to share. Number one is I put a link in the chat, which is called censorship. And on that link, there are 635 alternative media outlets. And those people all should be screaming about the attempts to censor their activity, which is what the WHO is, one of the many things they're trying to do. And so as a group and as individuals, if you think about how do you get more bang for your buck, how do you become a force multiplier? Okay, if you have an issue that you're concerned about, pick one out of the clear blue sky. Okay, whatever it might be, you can talk to your friends and family about it. That's for sure. You can talk to your members of Congress and everything else. Yeah, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a big old list. But what if you reach out to all of these people who have a platform? Okay, they have 5,000 people, 10,000 people, 1 million people, whatever. The list goes on and on and on, right? If you reached out to any one of those people and you said, this issue is really important, would you please cover it? Whatever their audience may be, if they cover the issue that is of concern to you, your effort in reaching out to them could be multiplied dramatically. Okay, maybe 5 people, maybe 500, maybe 5,000. Okay, but what if you know somebody who knows 500,000 or has followers or whatever you want to call it? And so TAP might consider organizing effort to connect with all of those people in the media. It's one of the many things I've been doing. You know, if somebody says, hey, you know, can you come on my platform and talk about whatever it is you're interested in? Absolutely. Okay. If they have 5 viewers, that's great. If they have 5,000, that's great too. But that effort reaches new people. If we're always just talking to the same crowd, you know, that's good, but it's not as good as reaching out. Everybody always says, oh, you know, you ought to be on Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan or this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, hey, you know, set up an appointment, right? These people are not easy to get a hold of. It's very difficult.
Well, Jim,
they're almost unreachable. But from the point of view of TAP, maybe you want to have a working committee to focus on influencing and connecting to people in the alternative media. It's not easy.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And we welcome your any reflections and thoughts. What we're doing so far, I mean, our game plan, so is basically to, you know, we want to participate in webinars as we have with you and Meryl, and what you're suggesting, I mean, that long list that you feature in the center are those are independent media operators in effect, correct?
Karen put a note in there. It's all a blur, but my memory of it is, you know, Karen said to, hey, Pete Santilli, you got to talk to this Roguski guy, right? And you know, so that was one of the early things that happened. I got a phone call from Michelle Bachman one day. I pick up the phone and I go, hi, this is James Roguski. Can I help you? And she goes, oh, hi, this is Michelle Bachman. I'm like, oh, okay. Sometimes things come to you from out of the clear blue sky. She had been talking to Leo Hohmann, who I had recently talked to, that Karen talked, you know, so it's like, who talks to who? You just do it, right?
Right.
And you know, all of these people they're just people. They're special, but they're not special. They're human beings, just like, you know, don't be afraid of them. They have their flaws, they have their strengths. They've done what they've done, and you've done what you've done. You know, on one level, we're all equal in the eyes of God, if you want to go there. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Right. Well, we're going to work off that list, and we do want to function as you know, I mean, we're working with as Bill explained, we have partners, and we do want to build up relationships through our partnership, which basically is, you know, posting a page that features the work you're doing, and builds that intersectionality, if we can use a pop woke term. But we do want to have, this is all relationship based, and we do need to get to know each other, and so TAP wants to be in the thick of it. It wants to be part of the project to talk, to basically take up language space, to talk about the emergency that we are in, the truth that can make difference, and so on. So just before we'll invite others, Jim, make your remark about the 10th Amendment. This is your constitutional, this is the one that says those things not assigned to the federals are remain to the states. And so the United States is going to be a hard country for the World Health Organization to necessarily exercise its authority, because there are 50 different states that do have 50 different medical, you know, authorities, you know, licensing boards and so on. So that's a lot of, like, 50 states within one major state. So just give a reflection on why you posted 10th Amendment and what you talked to in your essay.
Well, there's a lot of stuff involved in that. A couple of weeks ago, there was an event in Colorado, in Aspen, Colorado, and they had one segment where they interviewed 3 separate secretaries of Health and Human Services: Javier Becerra, who's the current one, Alex Azar, who was under Trump, and Kathleen Sebelius, who's under Obama. And the first thing they asked Javier Becerra, first words out of his mouth, they said, well, what would you like people to know about the Department of Health and Human Services that they don't know? And my jaw hit the floor. He said something that is true. So he's capable of speaking the truth. He said that, oh, well, he would want everyone in America to realize that the federal government does not have the authority to control healthcare. Okay. Then he went on to say, it's the state's issue. But the federal government does pump a lot of money into Medicare and Medicaid, and so they have an influence, but that's not authority. It's all the difference in the world. Now, if you read the international health regulations, you go to page 60 and 61, when the ambassador signed on the mission to Geneva, said, yeah, we accept the 2005 amendments, they wrote a reservation. They did it late, so I don't know how it even got in there. They missed the deadline, but whatever. And they said, well, WHO, we accept these changes, but we're the federal government. We'll have to ask the states. And they know that they don't have authority, but they also know that they can print money and influence people, or digitally create money and influence people. But the people don't know that that's not the same as authority. And so the reason I put the 10th Amendment thing in there was really because what's really going to happen with the WHO is Russia proposed an amendment that said each nation will be obligated to enact legislation to implement whatever they agree to with these agreements. And the United States federal government can't really do that. They can throw money around, but it's going to come down to the states. And there are pieces of legislation that are being written that are not good. And y'all got to pay attention on a state. And, nullification works against the federal level, okay? But you have to realize that state government, I'll use a totally different example. In Australia, the state of Western Australia, which is a state within the Australian system, they passed last September one of the most egregiously horrific dystopian pieces of legislation you could imagine. And it's just sitting there waiting for them, to put it into use. They give emergency personnel authority to just abuse the people pretty much at random. Now, that's a law, but it's unconstitutional. But they'll use it as long as they can until somebody gets harmed so badly that they take it to court, and maybe they get lucky and they work real hard and they get that law struck down. But, I've worked and tried to help, people become aware of it to get it to not. It's astonishing that such a law could be passed. And that's what we have to be on alert to. It's really not going to come from the WHO. It's not necessarily going to come from the federal government. Yeah, it's going to come from the state government, but it'll be at the county and the city and quite frankly, your local level. It's people that losing their mind, getting drunk on authority and power that they don't have, but thinking that they do. And so if you know where your authority and your rights and your freedoms, what they are, and you're secure in what your rights are, then when to look at somebody and go, hey, have you ever looked at Title 18, Section 242 and 241? You realize that you're committing a crime pretending that you have authority over me. You're going to be talking to my lawyer if you keep it up, because you don't have authority. It's a federal crime to pretend that you are the law. Okay. And unfortunately, not enough Americans know that.
And I'll just tell you that, growing up in the 60s, I wasn't impacted by JFK's assassination.
Right.
However, if I was an 18-year-old in 1965, I would have been impacted by his assassination.
Mhm.
The theory is that JFK was not interested in invading Vietnam and pulling back from that. But then the 9/11 event didn't really, it's hard. My point is, it's hard to know that we are in fact being impacted by these emerging techno-totalitarianisms. And one of the reasons I talk about Catherine Watt is she provides the historical record of laws that are passed. And these things do get introduced, and they kind of insinuate then a power grab claim by our authorities. And if anybody ever doubts that there is such a thing as a state power grab, it is the presentation of the COVID vaccine. And to me, that really triggered me in a way into my truth activism. And so, but actually it's 9/11 that really got me going, because and my point then is, now that when I look at the events of COVID with the 9/11 the backdrop, I see the evolution of this power structure. So finding points of resistance is very, very important, I think, and is something that we need to be talking about. And that's again why I've referenced the Catherine Watt, the prospect of citizen collective groups going and collectively, kind of as a little mini class action, saying something as simple as state attorney general, these COVID vaccines are not proven safe and effective. Stop, there should be no COVID vaccine in Oregon, for example, where I am. So these are activist events that Catherine Watt advances. Just a food for thought, and I do want to get her on to the TAP program as a forum with her and Sasha, because you guys would be. Do you know Sasha Ladipova, Jim? Have you met her?
Yeah, I'll be happy to see if I can get you guys connected. Sure.
Would you please? Yes, because I'd like to have the couple on, because we would talk about the consumer nightmare of the COVID, and then Catherine Watt's strong views on activating citizen petitions of grievance toward.
And Philip, who's the other guy? There's three of them. Philip Altman, or I'm not sure.
Who's associated with the work they're doing?
Yeah, there's three of them that work together, I think.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's get some names. But Jim, anyone that you can help us get in touch with, we'd appreciate that. Did I hear a question from maybe Bill or Chris? Go ahead and
yeah, I got a comment. On the issue of presumed authority over our bodily autonomy, and Jacobson versus Massachusetts has often referenced a 1905 Supreme Court case that they claim allowed for mandatory vaccination, but it didn't, because the pastor defendant Jacobson was not vaccinated as a result. He only paid a $5 fine in lieu of vaccination, meaning his right to bodily autonomy was still intact. So it was a precedent of liberty for a fee. And there's a good article over at, maybe I can share it over at a National Vaccine Information Center, on the tragic legacy of forced vaccination. Let me see if I can grab that in a moment here. But the forced vaccination, the tragic legacy of Jacobson v. Massachusetts. And give me just a second, I'll put that right here up on the screen. It goes much more into detail. So, I don't agree with the principle of stare decisis, but the courts say that in the Supreme Court, self-appointed authority in Marbury versus Madison in 1803 claimed that they had the right to set precedent, because I think each case has its own unique set of circumstances, which a jury should have the opportunity to deliberate. And for those who disagree or misinterpret Jacobson versus Massachusetts, or even expand its meaning to other areas like mandated mask wearing, they should be informed of other cases found that say things like Miller v. US, there can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one because of this exercise of constitutional rights. In 1939, Miranda v. Arizona, you've heard of Miranda rights, I'm sure that that's from which this case comes. 1966, the claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. And last one, well, I'll just do a screen share over here at voidjudgments.net if anyone wants to check out some of these other court precedents in just a moment. So, but the point is that there is no authority, and a Ninth Amendment, I think, really covers bodily autonomy for all rights being reserved to the people. So we can invoke the Ninth Amendment as well. And let me get those cases right up here on the screen. Folks want to check them out at voidjudgments.net/SUEDC/constitutionalcaselaw.pdf. It's the website. You can see right up there at the top. So yeah, I mention these points pretty often on my show because I think they're so important for folks to understand that you do have a leg to stand on. We still have our rights. There's been no change, right? Comments?
Well, Chris, thanks. I really appreciate you. Chris, you're a fountain of knowledge. One of the frustrations is our own Mike Zarzano, he's on the board here at TAP, and he's working in Florida, and he's doing this kind of petitioning through the, what do we call it? I'm having a senior moment. It's our fourth branch. We're calling it the grand jury investigations. Okay, so I think one of the observations is that our court system is corrupt, and it's almost like a dead end, and that there is no hope in it. I mean, I've heard these things, and yet, I'm always hopeful when litigation occurs, like when the two states have sued Biden over, controlling the censoring speech on the safety and efficacy of the COVID vaccines, for example. And so the courts are a critical piece, but then there's this fourth prospect that we, the people, can make our filings and appeal to the same things that you've just cited. And the Ninth Amendment, these are all things that we can invoke and speak. And I guess when we do speak and make these cases, we are in effect exercising that fifth freedom in the First Amendment, which is the right of a petition for redress of grievance. In other words, I'm grieving that my civil rights have been seized, that I'm being mandated to do something, take something that's not, against my conscience, and so on. So I guess, there's multiple ways to protest, from running a boycott to turning up on a street with a placard to, to engaging in simple letter writing, and so on. But then there is this thing that's not developed well at all by we the people, and that is that we could be petitioning our seeking those grand jury investigations. Chuck out. Other thoughts from anyone?
Yeah, I think I'll just briefly, just imagine if the people in Chicago, New York, the public employees were aware that they could have, that they would have won their case if they had just refused and been reinstated with back pay. And it comes out in the news that the cities respectively disregarded the unions' wishes to not forcibly mandate a shot. So, and also, Chuck, it was just 4 days ago, July 10th, that posted on my Facebook page, Judge Terry Dougherty ruled against Biden when he actually appealed against the Missouri decision to, saying that you can't interfere with the social networks, the social media networks. So I found that over in Robert Malone's Twitter page. And yeah, so we have these victories, and we have to stand on our own too, and wait for these to go through the courts sometimes, and maybe end up on top. But gosh, I'm concerned that they say 75% of Americans have taken the COVID shots. So I'm afraid with their spike protein being produced continually, That's what I think the main concern for America at the moment, remediation with certain things that we've talked about before.
Right. And okay. Other thoughts. We welcome any reflections from people around our campfire. Trina, do you have a reflection on anything you're hearing? You've been taking it in. Trina is our lead person in TAP, our chief organizer, manager, operations expert, but also a solid truther, what's your—
Learning as we go, Chuck, learning as we go. Well, I will comment that I love everyone's participation and the input we're receiving. And I would like to read a couple of comments and questions here, if I may.
Absolutely.
If that's okay at this
Yes,
point.
please take it. Go for it.
Thank you, Chuck. Bill has asked if anyone is aware of any national or regional or state conferences of local COVID activist groups. He says he knows there have been meetings of lawyers and doctors, but the citizen warriors, do they need a face-to-face gathering to strengthen their collaboration? And it just makes me reflect here on our face-to-face gathering here on Zoom. Although we're not meeting together physically, it is an avenue, a venue for us to be together. So I'm grateful for that, Bill, in lieu of our face-to-face that hopefully we could get on the table. Does anyone want to answer that question, or do they know?
What the question is citizen groups
Stack.
for COVID liberation? Is that?
Yeah, are there any meetings of just the citizen warriors gathering to strengthen their collaboration efforts? Tom, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Well, I'm a bit frustrated because. Hello? What?
Yeah, we're hearing. Go for it.
Oh, yeah, that in Wisconsin, I've made some effort to find out about that. And there is one group, but I haven't cracked into it yet. They have Facebook and well, anyhow, but what I did find, I found in Texas, there seems to be a pretty mature group, with a good website, and they seem to have an onboarding process. And occasionally I'll go down there. I do have family in Texas, so I can connect people with that group, and maybe I can put a link to it in the chat. And then I would just say that James knows about medical doctors for COVID ethics. What we find there in that group is that it pulls together a large number of people in 2 Zooms a week, and what happens is a number of them have formed subgroups, and they typically are pretty informal ad hoc groups of maybe less than a dozen, but they get very serious and focused. And some of them are worldwide. There was a rescue that was done across the Atlantic Ocean. There was somebody in the hospital, and these volunteers literally rescued him from the hospital. And they were in the UK, and the volunteers were in Canada, and they were up late hours into the night. They got the guy out of the hospital because they were not, he was in danger of getting remdesivir and so forth. Pass.
Yeah, thank you. And then thank you, Tom. Let us know if you do have that link. That'd be great. And then there's a comment also from Deb, and I hope I don't butcher your last name. Forgive me if I do. Queso. She says the Make Americans Free Again, the MAFA group that she's with, has been successful in her county. She said lots enjoy the gathering monthly meeting. They have doctor speakers and have raised money for legal suits. So just
let me interject there, Trina. I can talk on that. That's right here in Pinellas County. It's about 50 people in the banquet room, folks meeting every month at Mugs and Jugs. Mugs, not Mugs and Jugs, just to make sure it's Mugs. It's at Mugs Sports Bar and Grill in Clearwater. And they have great doctors, speakers, live stream sometimes, and from there, and been able to have a great audience interaction. They just had a meeting on Wednesday, and they're monthly. If folks want to check them out, go to MAFA, MAFA-FL.com, MAFA-FL.com, and also on Facebook. Sign up for their email list, and Yvette Gao will email you the event, the next event, the next speaker, and she's been really instrumental here in setting up these great events with a lot of great speakers, like Dr. McCullough and Dr. Tenpenny, and I'm going to miss them, Dr. Malone. Twice now here in Pinellas County, she's been ringleading these big conferences that they've brought in these great speakers, which is quite nice to me, having just to travel maybe 6 or 7 miles to see them. So that was great. And yeah, she's a Yvette Gao, Yvette G-A-U-G-H is her last name, G-A-U-G-H, if you want to connect with her on Facebook. And also there is here in Pinellas County at Muggs, there's also the Community Patriots Pinellas that meets monthly. So check them out on Facebook, or pardon me, now they're the Town Hall Patriots Pinellas. So check out the Town Hall Patriots Pinellas group, or get with me, or I think I have them linked up on my homepage at theliberationstation.com. Actually, I'm sure I do. Made sure I updated that. So go to theliberationstation.com and the homepage, and you'll find actually a lot of local groups there too here. Starting at local here in the Tampa Bay area, and then spreading out to the state as you go scroll further down the page. So that's my 3 cents.
Thank you, Chris. Other reflections on what you've heard tonight? We're I think people want, I think the prospect of conferencing and giving venues for the alternative media is definitely something TAP would like to do, and our campfires are available. I think we could, just as we have Jim here as our special guest, expert, and we can bring in, and we should bring in and use our TAP forum here in our campfires to cross-pollinate and get us talking together. And there's a kind of irony or paradox of the whole COVID thing, is that it drove us into our computers and into our Zoom meetings in ways that maybe we weren't using before the COVID. And so that's one of the odd features of what's becoming modern in the way we all meet up. I have made friends with people from Maine to Hawaii in a couple of lists that I'm involved in. And even here working with TAP, I'm friends with people from Washington to Florida, across the way, California, and so on. So, but I think one thing I know that I'm interested in is movement building and finding points of unity and building a coherent, call to action. But there's so many problems on so many levels. And historically, I think if you have ever listened to any rallying cry, there's never more than 3 issues, whether it's red, land, and fraternité or something like that. But I think the medical freedom thing is really an important one, and I think it's one that can really rally people. And I'm very interested in that. And out here in Oregon, I did meet someone, and I think there is a possibility for building this coalition, building our power base to basically liberate ourselves from big pharma, liberating ourselves from the I know there's a big movement resisting the 5G. If you live in New York City, it's kind of done. Apparently, New York City is having the placement of 5G antenna 200 feet apart, and the city is going to become a bath of microwave, kind of saturation. These are things that people are concerned about, and I'm involved in the Green Party, and and I'm a dissident within the Green Party, and I've started up, and I'm a partner. I have to get this page set up with TAP to be a Green Liberty movement, and Green Liberty is inspired by TAP's call to call out state crimes, and I'm operating on the theory that that the indignation at the big lies could build the unity for that 3% in a country of 200 million. What is that? Not many. 3 million, 4 million, 5 million people is what we need to coalesce around and have a shared narrative that would hold us and focus us. And it's going to cover a lot of topics, but I'm interested in that. And I think TAP is interested in that. We're educational, but maybe we'll actually, break out in 501c4. Who knows? I see JB, do you want to share a thought? You've been listening in.
Yes, thank you so much. I did want to invite everyone in this group regarding COVID-19 vaccine litigation underway. I invite you to have a look at National ARM. That stands for National American Renaissance Movement, directly involved in COVID-19 vaccine litigation. If you would please write this on a sticky note, the URL.
You could put that in the chat, JB, if you could, if you have access to it. That'd be easy.
Indeed, I will, but I'll spell it out. NationalARM.org. Thank you.
And I put it in the chat for you, JB. I got you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yep.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
Bill.
bringing that up.
Yep. And Bill's got a chat. Everyone's welcome to become members of TAP by going to the Truth Action Project. We have sign up. You can get our subscriptions. There's even a donate button. We are, Trina is paid staff, modest, part-time, and the nature of this program, this is an operation. It's an extensive website. And it's a lot of work to, my hat goes off to Jim for his productivity. You are a machine. And I'm impressed. And what, this is hard work, doing this work, engaging in media, talking to people, giving them reports, sharing highlights, and it's all very, very important. So TAP is part of the, we're in the game, we're on the court, and we want to be passing and taking shots and making those 3-pointers.
And
really
Trina, I'm sorry I interrupted you a little earlier. If you wanted to continue, but I know you're going to get into get into with Jim, if you could, the question, Jim, about the new organization he and Dr. Meryl Nass have just started.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, no problem. It's all right. I was just going to speak a little bit more about placing people as partners and making pages for them is one of the things that I'm assigned to do. And one of the tasks that I take on willingly and lovingly is to help represent our partners and highlight their work in the hopes of maybe someone that wouldn't otherwise see them on another platform. I know TAP is just launching. We're just now getting out of the gate. Not a lot of people have heard about us yet, but as we grow over time and our message spreads and what our purpose is and our mission is, we really want to highlight and elevate the independent media that we have all around us, all of the people such as Jim here with us tonight and the wonderful work he's putting on the table. We just want to make everyone's work and their work product available to more people in the hopes of that cross-pollination that Chuck mentioned earlier, just trying to get more attention on people that are doing these good works. So keep it up, everybody. And then to follow on that, as we go and as we build and as we grow, we do want to put some things into place where we are more activated instead of all of the talking points that we hear around us. My head swims every day, a different blog, a different Substack, a different article, a different podcast. Everyone's putting out a lot of great work. And, I would like to see us focus more on the movement building and really gaining ground in our cohesiveness and our unifying message, even if they're different messages, how we can come together as one. As they say, we're all in this together. So that's what we're working towards. Over.
Thank you, Trina.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And any other reflections? You can raise your hand. You can just jump in. I want to just make an observation.
I just wanted to ask Jim if he could tell us about the organization that Dr. Nass and he are founding and mentioned on the July 6th forum that we had, the TAP forum.
Door to Freedom.
Sure.
I'll put that in the chat too, Jim. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just did. Doortofreedom.org.
You did. You beat me to it. Thank you.
Show and tell. I've got to ask Meryl if it is for real, but it seems like it's live and ready to go. It's essentially going to be a source of reliable information, and a lot of misinformation out there. I deal with it every day. Doortofreedom.org. Put your email in there and we'll see if they let you in. It's very, very close to being live. Check back later and it'll be ready to go.
Sounds like you have something big in the works, you and Dr. Nass.
Well, I got to give much more credit to Meryl. She's rounded up a bunch of folks who, have a lot of knowledge and they're sharing it. And it's just getting organized, put a bunch of information together. I have just been running into a lot of misinformation from our side, and it's maddening. Yeah. It's maddening. Not, you can't tell sometimes if it's intentional or not, but we need to be sharp. We need to be on point. We need to not spread misinformation. The government and the powers that be are busy doing that. We need to do the opposite. So hopefully Door to Freedom will be up and running very soon.
Hey, Jim, what are some highlights give us a couple highlights of the misinformation you're finding that's coming out of our side, as it were?
I can give an overview.
Yeah, an overview would be great.
Number one is a way of abusing the language where people say the very things that we're trying to stop, they speak of them as if they are a foregone conclusion. Okay. Oh, the WHO is going to do this and the WHO is going to do that. Or even worse, the WHO has already done this and Biden has signed the paperwork and, we're doomed and Armageddon is right around the corner. There's an awful lot of manifesting that which we are trying to stop. And I try my best to say, look, here's the documents. Here's what they say they want to do. Oh, hell no. We're not letting, this is what we want. Okay. So there is a lot of defeatist, negative manifestation of that which we don't want from people who are trying to raise awareness, but doing it in a manner that scares the crap out of people. Now, sometimes it scares the crap out of people and they get up and they get to work, but sometimes it puts people down into a state of depression. There's nothing I can do. It's all horrible. The world's coming to, you got to lift people up with, not false hope by any stretch of the, but it's like, hey, here's what we're doing. We don't want that to happen. We want this to happen. We're working to build this. We're collecting people together. We're organizing. We have a vision. We have plans. And
right.
So our side needs to get on the path of, to put words in Karen Bracken's mouth. Forgive me for doing so. Hey, if that federal government thinks that they're going to pass some legislation that oversteps their authority, they're going to come face to face with the nullification movement in Tennessee. No, you will not. Okay,
Right.
don't even think about it. As opposed to, oh, woe is me. The federal government always, well, I get tired of hearing that. It's one thing to identify a problem. It's one thing to identify a threat and see that they might be planning or trying to do that, and talking about it as if it's already here. And I have no room for that. It's hard enough, okay, to have our side being all defeatist and so a lot of things that people have said that are just it's just not correct.
Yeah. Well, I totally hear you, and I think TAP is very sensitive about. I mean, we have debate within TAP about some stuff we have represented on the website, and we are not we're not of one mind entirely on some of the details, but in the main, we are TAP is a consensus that that we are being lied to, and that these lies are corrupting our culture and have rotted our republic, and that something needs to happen. And we can't just talk about what's going on, I guess, we can't. I think where we're in agreement is that there is going to be no change unless there's a liberation from the big lies. I mean, and now what that looks like and how that's accomplished. I mean, what we're up against is, I mean, if the point is, well, we have to have a liberated medical system because under the COVID, we were subjected to, rotten medicine and a mandate. So the liberation from that needs to be represented in the positive way, and we need to speak to these possibilities in ways that can create this kind of unity movement. And that's kind of what I'm hearing Jim saying is like, how do you, but to talk about the lies and talk about big, state crimes is fundamentally a negative thing. And how do you kind of represent this problem of living? And I've written an essay at the Green Liberty site called Navigating the Sea of Cognitive Dissonance in an ocean of, or a sea, navigating the shoals of cognitive dissonance in a sea of big lies. And it's inspired by an essay posted at Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth by Fran Scher, who grapples with people that don't want to talk about the truth, the political truth, and that we've been tricked, and we're being tricked again and again. And so building a movement that is, and actually Cynthia McKinney made an appeal to the Lawyers Committee on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And she said, you lawyers need to be in the lead, not just espousing the truth about what happened, but actually taking a kind of an electoral leadership, willing to step in the game. And maybe it's kind of in the work. It could even be, becoming a kind of street fighter for truth by, engaging in these actual petitions of grievance and appealing to grand juries and, demanding the governor to, defend our 10th Amendment right to self-determine in our own state. So these are thoughts that I have. Anyone else? Any reflections on
Tom's chat.
Tom, please.
So we've got, we have the experience of, Bill Jacoby's a lawyer, and we have lawyers for 9/11 Inquiry or 9/11 Truth. It's got several domain names. Is there? I'm hoping that there would be a comparable thing like that for the WHO, or maybe there shouldn't be. But like I'm trying to understand what wins would look like. Let's say everything worked out. What would be? Could you paint a happy path of how we, like if everything came together one by one? And then the other tool, I'm thinking of like Andrew Wakefield, who got incredibly Zoom bombed. His big angle is doing films, and he uses that term film or documentary. Is there an effort in that direction, Paz?
So what are concrete accomplishments going to look like in our movement? Jim, concretely speaking, thoughts? Trina, what if Trina has her hand up? Go for it, Trina.
I was just going to call into, I don't know if it's directed at the WHO per se, Tom, but the group that, the new organization that JB Hawker-Smith brought up, the National Arm, I'll just read briefly. They're just the two top paragraphs on their website. The National American Renaissance Movement presents evidence to New Jersey Governor, Attorney General, and county prosecutors calling for criminal investigations into the COVID-19 crimes. The National American Renaissance Movement has presented an 82-page grand jury petition with exhibits and an executive summary to the Governor of New Jersey, his Attorney General, and 21 county prosecutors requesting a criminal investigation into the crimes of COVID-19. Numerous crimes are cited and commented on. So that's on the COVID, but not the WHO. Legal actions that I'm aware of.
Wait, someone's, who is speaking?
I think it's JB.
JB here, and thank you,
JB,
for giving us a cross section of that. Ultimately, it will be, it's not just New Jersey. Ultimately, it will be all 50 states seeking grand jury, not eligibility, but actually found the paperwork. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, I'm intrigued at this grand jury work, and again, do put us in touch with Sasha and Catherine Watt, Jim, please, because they would, that would be those two together. I've seen them. They've interviewed before. They are so very important work. I see what is being shared on the screen with National Arm, National American Renaissance Movement. Very interesting. You know, this is where so Jim, what does an accomplishment look like? What I mean, you're accomplishing all the time with communications and promptings of people. You're inviting us to, you're directing us. You're an activist organization on multiple levels. And I mean, what are you looking for? I mean, what would make you feel something's been accomplished relative to the WHO?
I don't necessarily think that it's going to be because of some political party or some politician or some candidate or some savior or whatever. It's an awakening of millions, if not billions of people, where when individual people realize, and they realize who they are, they realize what their authority and power and strength and freedom and rights are, and they find the spine to stand in that authority. Okay, that is either going to happen on an individual basis or it isn't. If people are going, oh, we want that person to save us, well, it's an old cartoon, Pogo, we've met the enemy and they are us. The problem with the United States is us. And maybe not you, maybe not me, maybe not the next guy, but yes, look in the mirror. The problem is each and every one of us. We've let the system that we have get out of control because we've all forgotten that the government works for us. And we've allowed them to work for other forces. And so if we don't like how it's going, we all got to look in the mirror and do better. And it's not like there's going to be an end point. There's not like, you'll know it when things change. When I forget who the quote was from, but when the people fear the government, it's tyranny, and when the government fears the people, it's freedom, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Good one.
We have become complacent. We, meaning, the world, right?
Very generally speaking, yes.
Apathetic, soft, comfortable, complacent, whatever the word is. And, we need to get out of that and fix the problem while it still may very well be able to be fixed. That there might come a point where it's like you can't fix it anymore, nuclear war or God knows what. But it's when people take back control of government, and what that means is mind control. Just think about it. We're setting up mind control, government. We need to rethink what we're talking about here, right? We hired groups of people to work for us. They're supposed to protect our rights, and they're the ones who are abusing our rights with mind control. We're setting up the system that's designed to abuse us. When we all realize that we all need to stop doing that, okay, things will get a lot better.
Right.
I agree. And to expand upon that, one of the things, the comments, I'll just read quickly, 2 comments that that Deb has made. First one I'll point out, it piggybacks kind of on what you're saying, Jim, as far as taking care of ourselves and realizing our power. One of the things she mentions is staying as far away from 5G as possible. Now, I told her this is proving difficult for me to do. She mentions getting rid of smartphones. She says sacrifice is essential for our survival. Convenience will kill us. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. Just taking back our power in that way, even if we can't completely disengage from our cell phones, but realizing that the way we use them, the amount of time we use them, the blue screens, our eyesight, all of this is, can be detrimental to our health. So I think just being conscientious and aware of that is a great start for a lot of people. The second comment she mentions is that bans, when you ban a company or you ban a product or things that don't align with your awareness, is also very useful. And together, if we stop buying products that harm our health and our liberty, how that could be a very useful technique to take back our power. And she kind of ends that with a question mark, but I believe that is a way for us to help take back our power over. If anyone else would like to comment on that.
Kennedy 2024.
There's a political advertisement.
Well, the 5G thing.
He's strong on that. Yeah,
The Children's Health Defense is putting out great work on that. Go ahead, Chuck. I'm sorry.
I'll share a personal story. I am, as I said, active in the Green Party. I'm out here in Oregon, and I'm a delegate to the national list. And I've gotten in trouble because I posted in our national discussion list a report that kind of highlighted Robert Kennedy, and Cornel West is the one who is being represented to likely to get the nomination for the Green Party. Cornel West is running on a truth and justice theme, and I made I compared Kennedy's truth politics in my comment, and I made an observation. I said, well, the reason I'm posting about Robert Kennedy is because Cornel might get into a debate with him, and he needs to be ready to talk about the kinds of truth that Kennedy's talking about. And Kennedy, frankly, said, CIA did in my uncle, probably did in my father. National security state contributed to 9/11, and Department of Defense is behind COVID. And these are truth principles that Kennedy is putting out there, which is pretty freaking. I mean, who has ever heard a public figure speak so frankly in the way he has? So it's almost jarring what Kennedy is doing. But I shared on my list in the national, and I got an advisory because I was allegedly promoting. They said Kennedy. I said, oh, you guys, they don't read. See, they just pick up a couple of things and then they spin it into a disinformation campaign. So I'm actually on my own personal activism, suffering a kind of wokeism from Green Party people, but no, we're not in harmony. Truth politics is it's a third rail. People just get electrocuted when they even approach it, So that's a personal story from me, and then my Green Party ventures. Thanks, thumbs up from Jim. Thanks. Any other thoughts? We should wrap up here. We've been going.
James has
Jim,
Yeah,
please.
no, I just wanted to repeat a comment from earlier about what you just said. You're just driving home the fact that
Yes.
you're revolutionary. You're going to keep speaking the truth. You're going to keep getting in trouble.
And I got in.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
I'm on moderation land for 30 days. And so basically I'm going to take a break from it because it's kind of toxic dealing with people that call you a conspiracy theorist and, and so on. So, but I'm in the trenches and I'm fighting. And I'm willing to do it. And I think that's what we're doing here at TAP is we're creating a place where we have a kind of political home. I know we're not a political party, but we are speaking political truth. And I do appreciate Jim because he's very evidence-based and doesn't like to spin off into deep conspiracy speculations. I mean, who needs to when you have so much hard evidence of the malfeasance and the things that we can explicitly call out and demand justice around. So other thoughts from people, any reflections as we wind down? There's Tom has his hand up. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, just a quick logistical thing. So the staff or the backstage people can communicate. If you guys like Chris and Trina and Chuck, if you could look at your private chat, like if I did need to get a message to you, I think we should just at least practice saying, doing the hand.
Gotcha.
And other people, like I got a nice message from JB and we had a conversation privately. So it's just a Zoom skill. Okay,
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, we're learning here. We're going to become more adept. Zoom is our campfire. This is where we all meet and congregate, and become acquainted, and start sharing our stories of doing the work. And I know TAP is pretty wide open, the topics that we're going to be exploring. And as I said, we've already done a monetary reform. It's kind of boring, geeky, wonkish, but it's a realm where there is liberation that needs to unfold. And medical freedom, I think, is very, very important for us. And I think criticizing the placement of these antenna is very important. And here's a criticism. A criticism is that we the people were, one of my gurus wrote an essay in 1952, and he made an observation that chemicals are being used and they're being deployed into our agriculture, into our food, into multiple levels, into our, and there was never a discussion about that. And just as there's never been a discussion about, do we really want the maximal placement of these antenna when we could have gotten our services through hardline stuff? This is a point that Children's Health Defense represents in their news. And so this is a criticism I have, that we, the people, aren't consulted about these things. We're not consulted about the quality of our medicine, about the quality of our food. We are just kind of getting what's being presented to us. Now, if you can pay for the good stuff, you can choose. But if you're not of that great of a means, you have to take what you can get. So that's part of a criticism I have, is that we, the people, are entitled to talk about the World Health Organization, the deployment of policy, the demand, and so on. And so we are, and I, the work I do, I really think about how foundational is the First Amendment, the right to speak, to talk, to assemble, to petition my grievances and so on. That really, this is a foundational piece. And I know Robert Kennedy does speak to this. That is one of the things he highlights in his remarks. Dave, do you have a reflective thought for us that you could share?
No, I was just coughing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up. If there's anything that's urgent that someone is thinking about, you may share. Otherwise, I think we can do a farewell and
I'll read Deb's comment as we close, Chuck.
Oh, good.
Another comment Deb had put in, Deb Queso. She says, what if they called for a war and no one showed up? We are each our own power. She says the government is a hoax at this point. So amen, Deb. Okay, so yeah, we hold a lot of power as individuals, and we're ready to tap into that. I can feel it on this call, and thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Yeah,
And
we're getting to the top of the hour now, Chuck.
we are, and so we're going to wrap up. And I just want to commend Chris Steiner and Tom and Trina, who are setting this up. TAP, this is the TAP infrastructure that's doing this. So we are beautiful in our individuality, but we do well when we can work well together, and that's something.
Can Chris put the stream URLs into the chat so we can watch?
Not yet. I don't have them all right now.
Okay, not going to happen.
But yeah, they'll I'll compile the list afterwards, and then the 3 other platforms onto which we'll post, because they don't allow streaming. We'll post them on Bitchute, Brighteon, and Odysee after the show, as well as the live streaming platforms.
And I'll just make a note to everybody here on the call. You can find all of our social media platforms by going to one of our pages. It's truthactionproject.org/socials. That's where you can find all of our social media platforms.
And last night, Trina just added to denote which platforms on which we stream live. So when you see in parentheses live streaming, you'll know those are the ones on which we're live. And so that's just the one page you go to, and you can see where our social networks are likely to be growing in the future.
Thank you.
And we're going to have a live stream.
I can't read it, Phil. I can't read what it says, Phil.
Oops.
Oh yeah, he's showing all of our streaming lives. He's printed out something that he got from us. Thank you, Phil. So good to see everybody tonight. Jim,
He's a good list maker.
And thank you again, Jim, for coming on and joining us on our campfire chat tonight. We've enjoyed having you with us.
Yes,
so
thanks, Jim.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and end the recording, and we can say good night, and people can linger a little bit if they want.
People should save the chat, right?
Yes. Good night, all. If you hang up.
Okay.
Oh wait, don't end the meeting now.
We're not.
Okay.
If you can save the chat by doing the